Most small business owners don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack clarity. My name is Adam Diaz, and I've spent nearly 2 decades building, selling, and advising small businesses. This platform exists for one reason: to bring clarity to chaos and insight to confusion. Only what moves your business forward. Here, we talk real strategy, real numbers, and real leadership decisions that actually make your business profitable. If you care about margin and not just the hype, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Margin. Welcome to the podcast, Marcos. Glad to have you on.
Well, thank you.
Man, we've been working together now since like November, which has been pretty awesome.
This is true. It's not often I'm in front of the camera.
I know. Usually you're the one working it from the back and then working the magic in the editing studio. And I think you do great work. So I really appreciated working with you.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to have you come on as a coaching guest. And I'd love to see, what's your question?
Yeah. So number one question that I would say that I have is I have 5 questions, but I think if I were to want the one question answered, it's like, I'm self-employed. I've realized that I'm self-employed because I don't have employees.
Okay.
But I'm building a business that I want to run as a business. And I feel like I'm in this middle ground of a freelancer operating, learning how to do a business. So I'm pricing as the business we want to be, and I'm building that way, but I still have like this freelance creative way of moving.
Right.
And the two don't go together.
So let's back up for even just a minute, and I jumped the gun. Why don't you give me maybe the 1 to 2 minute version of your history, how you started the business, and kind of what you've been doing for the last 2 years that have gotten you to this point.
Okay. So was working a job. I've been working just various retail jobs. Then I went into like rehab, personal in-home care sort of, but so from Jubilee to then the actual rehab in Spokane, and then transitioned from there, worked at the UGM for a little bit, and none of it worked out. When I lost my full-time job, that was June 13, 2022, and I had already been contemplating on a media business because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And I realized, wow, there's a lot of people now that need exactly what I have, and that this is where I'm really skilled at.
Okay. And
so the idea was there. I never really moved on it. Once I lost my job, I had to move on it. And then had a crazy family transition and crisis. Got that all worked out by God. And then I started my business in 23. Okay. July 25th, 2023. Today makes 982 days.
All right.
And I'm like, okay, haven't been at it too long. They say to become an expert, you got to put in 10,000 hours. I think that since I've been doing media and audio specifically since 2006, I've reached those hours in the audio department and all that stuff. Maybe not so much on the camera, but while on my way there, the creative part is not even an issue. Like, I can be creative. I can create something from nothing.
Okay.
It's the systems, it's the processes, the consultation and all those things. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, and only really like 1 year like honed in on small business owners.
Okay. So here's what comes to my mind immediately. You say you're self-employed, you say you're a freelancer, and you want to move to being a business owner. A freelancer sells their time. A business owner sells a product.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question for you is, what is the product that you're trying to sell?
I would say video marketing.
Video marketing. Tell me what that is.
Video marketing meaning you get to get your message out there, your visual representation, commercial advertisement, and we get to take that whole like umbrella message, break it down into micro content, and then distribute that every day on social media. So that's video marketing. But we want you to get a return on your investment. So it's not just that we're just making you these beautiful videos with lots of beautiful equipment. It's just that we're trying to help you get whatever your KPI is, whatever your goal is, whatever your metric that you're trying to hit. If it's followers, then we want to boost that, right? So then whatever you deem as valuable from what you're paying in the service, we're getting you that, right? But if you're going to try to run advertisements and stuff like that, whatever you pay for the service, we want to see you get that back through your marketing. If that's a return directly from the ad, you put in $1, you get 3 followers. You put in $1, you get $3. That's really what we're trying to do, but use creative means to get that messaging out there.
So you said a lot of things. Do you do all of those things or just the video part?
Well, the marketing piece is probably something that I'm just going to continue to partner with marketers and pick it up as I go.
Okay.
Because I don't want to just necessarily hone in on that skill. But so, yeah, we're doing it, but we're also working with people that actually are well-rounded in it. The video, like there's just no way. Like we're going to make fire videos.
Okay. So your product is visual. What did you say? Said your product is visual. You said something specific.
Visual marketing.
Visual marketing. But it wasn't, but you really not doing all the marketing pieces. Your product is creating long form and short form content to then partner with a marketer to distribute that to get your goals.
Right.
Okay. So any business fundamentally needs to say, how much does it cost me to produce this thing that I'm offering? And how much are people willing to pay for it?
Right.
That's how businesses make money. And if you can produce it for less than what people are willing to pay for it, then you've got a business. And it's really that simple. You have to be able to produce something, put something of value into the world for a price that costs you to produce less than what people are willing to pay. So how much does it cost to do what you're doing?
So how much has it taken to be able to do it? Or like, what is the hourly rate that it takes? Or like, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
When I factor in the cost of what it takes to just create this podcast, like everything in this room had to be dialed in. We had to get lights. We had to get the cameras. We had to get the backlights. Let's put on this light. Will you reach around and turn that one on too? I forgot about those. So these things, like we're in 20,000 plus for the podcast, right?
So that's really expensive if you just do one podcast.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you do 20,000 podcasts, then it comes to $1 per podcast for equipment.
Okay.
So we've got our fixed costs. Our fixed costs are things that we pay one time, and then we spread that cost over the volume of the product we create. Our variable costs go up every time we do something or create something. So you break your costs into your fixed costs and your variable costs. And this is important to calculate how much something really costs you, right? Because you absolutely do need to make your money back on this 20 grand of equipment that you've got sitting in here.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't charge $20,000 to record one podcast.
Not at all.
Right. But what is the number? 10 podcasts. So 20,000 divided by 10, that's still probably too much. Right. So when you're looking at equipment or one-time costs, the other thing is that some of this stuff isn't going to last for 20,000 podcasts. The cameras might not even last for 20,000 podcasts, right?
Right.
They
right.
will eventually break. They'll eventually wear out. They'll eventually become obsolete from new technology, and people are going to expect you to have new cameras.
Right.
Right. So you're going to have this general equipment replacement cost, right? And typically what you want to do to calculate that number is figure out how much do I need to spend on new equipment every year? And then how many jobs am I going to complete in a given year? And try to divide those numbers into each other. So I need to spend, let's just keep the math simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to spend $10,000 on new equipment in 2026. And I expect to do 100 jobs. Is that a reasonable number to maybe do in 1 year? 100 jobs?
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy math. That's $100 per job. 100 times 100 is 10,000. Okay. So whenever you're thinking about the cost of an event, a shoot, a podcast, a wedding, whatever, you're kind of adding $100 equipment cost onto it. And that's a pretty rough idea of what you need to be getting paid to make back your equipment cost in the long term. Now that's assuming you're spending $10,000 a year somewhat consistently. And I would think, just based on what I know about, which is very limited, a business like this, but you probably are spending $10,000 a year on new equipment.
Yeah.
Right? A new mic here, a new mic there, new
Computer.
lens, new computer.
Yeah.
So $10,000 of equipment. And as you get bigger, obviously that budget will go up. I'm sure a larger film production company can easily spend $100,000 a year on new equipment, right?
Right.
So there's no real limit to what this is. But again, what's your volume of jobs, and what volume, your volume of jobs kind of justifies the price or not. Because again, if you say, hey, I got to spend $10,000 a year on equipment, but I only do 10 jobs a year, and so every time I do a job, I'm charging them $1,000 just for kind of that equipment line.
Yeah.
People might not be willing to pay that.
Right.
Which means you either need to do more jobs, right? Or you need to spend less money on equipment.
Right.
Business is all about figuring out what the factors are you can tweak and then tweaking them appropriately, right? So in this case, I was saying you can do more jobs. That would help bring the cost of equipment down, or you can spend less on equipment. And you as the business owner then have to decide which is more realistic for my business at this time.
Yeah.
Right. But you can only do what you can do. You can't just say, well, I'd love to have $100,000 of equipment, so I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah.
That's not how you make decisions, right? Well, if you do that, you need to get a lot more jobs.
Yeah.
Or a lot more high paying jobs, or whatever the case may be, right? So you're constantly figuring out these knobs that you can adjust to make your business more profitable. How do you figure out what the market's willing to pay for your services? How do you price yourself?
That's a good question. That's a great question. And I was actually sitting here thinking about it based off of what you were saying. And I'm like, I like to have monthly retainers, right? And that's what we're on. And I feel like those are good because I get a predictable workload for a predictable amount of money.
Yes.
And I know that this person is locked in with me. And that's one of the things that I'm looking for, is not necessarily just to do video marketing for just anybody. I want to become a media partner for certain somebody. So we grow together. I'm just as invested in them and they are invested in me, and it works together. So
already right there, that feels like a different product to me than
really?
What you initially described. Because I think the narrower you can define your product, the easier it is to sell, and it's easier it is to get the right fit for what you're trying to sell.
Okay.
Okay, so if that's truly what you're trying to do, you should start explaining it that way. Is say, my product is that I provide video services for businesses that I partner with on an ongoing monthly basis, and I work with the marketing agencies to make sure that they're meeting their KPIs. Right. And then what you're saying is what I sell is a package.
Right.
When you work with me, you get this many hours of filming every month. You get this many hours of editing every month. Mm-hmm. You're going to get this many produced minutes of long form content, and you're going to get this many produced minutes of short form content. And all that is what you get for X amount of dollars. It's very clear. People want to know what they're buying, and they want to know, is the what I'm buying worth the value that I'm having to give for it? So clarity is always the friend of sales.
Okay. And I think that has been a challenge of mine. When it comes to these monthly retainers, this is where I'm going to put all my energy. And this is where like my month gets structured, is around these. But then when, call it a money grab, when X, Y, and Z came up, or we got this coming up, birthday, we needed just a little something extra to be able to do a little something extra. Then I take that number and I'm like, oh, well, I can break that down. And I just go talk to 4 or 5 businesses, do one-off reels, maybe like social media stuff, right? And in my head, I think that realistically, like $150, $200 for a reel, I don't think that's a stretch for most people. I'm not sure, but I feel like that's not too hard to come by, and it's enough skin in the game to be serious and still affordable to try it out.
What does it cost you to produce a reel?
Honestly, I can get a reel done in like 30 minutes.
Do you drive somewhere and meet them to produce that reel?
Thinking of a conversation I had yesterday at a barbershop.
Okay.
Beautiful establishment. Nobody knows where it's at. It's a new location. Just had a grand opening. One of their partners has decided not to be partnered in anymore. So the question is do you want to run advertisements so that you can offset some of the cost of the new space? Yeah, I do. Well, then let's talk about it, right? Then when I got done with it, she's like, well, how much will you charge me to do it? And in my head, I'm like, 170.
So let's break down that cost though, because you have to go back to the barbershop, right? Mm-hmm. Is it close to your house?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. So we got 20 minutes of driving.
Right.
And I know it takes some time to set up the cameras. Probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then another 10 minutes to take them down.
Yeah.
You got 30 minutes in it there, 20 minutes of driving. There's going to be always some chit chat, the customer relationship. So you're probably all in about an hour for the film. Mm-hmm. Does that feel about right? And then how long does the editing take you?
I would say the pre-production would be where we really dial in the whole entire edit. Is when we write the script.
Okay.
We're creating the edit. We know what we're gonna shoot.
Who's writing the script?
I will be.
Okay.
So we know exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull up and we're gonna shoot these shots, and then we already know how the edit's going. So the edit can literally get slapped together in like 15 minutes.
Would this be one reel or a batch of reels?
One reel.
One reel. My initial gut reaction to this is it feels expensive for one reel and too expensive to produce.
Really?
That's my gut reaction.
Okay.
So I want you to think about this because the way we work together is more in batches.
Right.
Where we'll do multiple podcasts together, and then you'll give me 20 reels out of a batch of podcasts.
Right.
That feels significantly more efficient to me. So it's cheaper for you to deliver the same product. The product is the reel, right?
Yeah.
So you're delivering this reel to this person, or you're delivering the reel to me. But overall, the amount of time it takes per reel, the amount of resources it takes per reel is significantly less for me than it would be for the one-off, right?
Right.
How much can you do that? I don't know. You don't want to ever be running your business out of desperation, right? Well, I need $170, so I'm going to spend 3 hours on this and use my resources, right? Mm-hmm. In some point, sometimes you do have to say it's better for me to do something than sit on my hands.
Yeah.
But that's very much freelancer thinking.
Very much so.
Very much freelancer thinking. It's not it's not a system. So if you did that 100 times, I don't think you would be making money. If you went around town and did it for 100 barbershops, would it be profitable? I don't think so. How many could you even do in a month? I mean, let's say you could do, let's say 4 a day. Think you could do 5 a day?
No.
4?
Maybe 3.
Oof. And we're definitely not profitable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're only doing 3 of these a day, and that's probably a realistic number. So I appreciate you being realistic, not telling me 10.
Yeah.
Because you're writing 3 scripts, you're going to 3 locations, you're setting up, tearing down 3 times. There's the mind shift, just the mental shift of I'm editing this person's video, downloading this file, uploading it to Vimeo, sending it to the customer. They give me feedback. I'm rechanging this edit. You know, like the whole process is significant. 3 a day. At 100, let's just say $200, make the math easier. Again, it's $600 a day. With your overhead, that's not enough. There's approximately 22 working days in a calendar month, assuming you want to take weekends and holidays off.
Right.
Right. So 22 working days in a calendar month times $600. Let's go ahead and get the old calculator out here. So maybe 13 grand a month. Now you've got a lot of costs in this. You've got to pay for your internet, a space. You're probably working out of your home now. But again, can you work, if you want to build a business and not be self-employed, can you work? Are you going to have everybody work out of your house?
No.
So you need an office.
Right.
Office is going to be $2,500 by itself. That's a really good deal.
Okay.
Could be $6 grand. So we're going to say $2,500 to $6 grand for an office, but let's say $2,500.
Yeah.
You got what I say our budget was based on this model. You know, is about 10, 13 grand. So you're using about 20% of your budget on rent, 10 grand a year on equipment. You need some amount of business insurance and, you know, some marketing expenses. So pretty soon you're just going to use up all that money on running the business. There's not going to be any left for you as the owner. So the business doesn't have anything left. This is what makes me nervous about that model is it doesn't scale out.
Got you.
I don't think it's efficient.
It's not even a money grab at that point.
It's not real. Well, it might be as a freelancer, right? Because again, I see where you're coming from is like, it's still $170. So what were you going to do other than that? You know, scroll on Facebook, probably worth it.
Yeah.
What was your camera going to do other than that? Sit in your car.
And work creates more work.
You know what I mean? So yes, it's short term. It could be a money grab. And I like that you're using that term. It's a quick way to make a buck.
Yeah.
Because again, your cameras weren't going to be doing anything for that time. You may not have been doing anything for that time.
Right.
So it's a quick way to make 170, 180, $200. The problem is if you get stuck in the cycle of doing that type of work over and over and over, it will never scale into from freelance work to business work.
So even thinking about one of your previous podcasts, you said that you need to, I think it was the podcast with Allison, and y'all should go watch that if you haven't watched it. Allison Rawlings and Adam Diaz. But you said never be at capacity in your business. Always have like 20% margin in your business so that you can't be at capacity. Another opportunity comes, you automatically are saying no.
Absolutely.
And so if I'm feeling that capacity, whatever capacity the business has with these money grabs, then I'm automatically saying no to a potential media partner.
Potentially. The way I like to look at it, especially for freelancers, is that I do encourage people to take the money grab, lesser paying work in the short term while you establish authority to be able to take the bigger jobs.
Okay.
But what you need to understand is that those smaller jobs won't ever scale. So I guess hear me out. I'm not saying it was bad for you to do that deal. You probably should do that deal because it's still $170 in your pocket and it's paying the bills, right?
Right.
So do it. Great. And like I said, if you hadn't been doing that, your equipment would be not working and you would be not working. So go do it. It's better than nothing for sure.
Right.
Just know that 2 things can be true at once. It was good for you to go do that work, but you can't do that forever. And it's not going to scale into a business. What's going to scale into a business is really your monthly retainer work.
Yeah.
Or bigger jobs that are more efficient in time. And this is true of most businesses. Small jobs are just hard to make money on.
I agree. And they're the
Even
worst, honestly.
even if you're, my brother's does got the window washing business. It's really hard to make money going out and doing a $150 job. Because by the time you get in the truck and load your stuff up and greet the customer and get your equipment out and do it and then collect payment and drive to your next job, I mean, it's not efficient to do that little work. And so what is your product, right? Okay, we can either charge $1,000 for one reel, but now we're into a different problem. The market doesn't want to pay that.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay it.
So you can't, you're gonna be really hard pressed to do that. So you don't sell one reel.
Right.
You say, hey, I don't do a package that's one reel. I would love to make you 10 reels. And all you need to do is come for 2 hours of filming. Like you need to block out 2 hours of your time, and I will script 10 videos for you. And I will come to your location, and I will edit all these videos. And you just basically need to carve out 2 hours of time. We might be able to get it done in 90 minutes, but why don't you carve out 2 hours to be safe? And it's $1,000, so it's only $100 a reel. It's cheaper than what you were going to pay, which was $200 a reel or $150 a reel. So it's less money per reel, but now it's $1,000.
Yeah.
Significantly more money grab
Right.
for significantly less time. Or it's going to be more time than it would be to produce one, but not that much more.
Yeah.
You probably, realistically, twice as much time to produce 10 times as much content. You think that's probably true? Maybe 3 times as much time?
Yeah, I would say if we take those 2 hours we set up and all that stuff, and I'm looking at the editing room. The editing room for 10 reels, if they're all scripted out.
You said
15 minutes.
You said 15 minutes a reel.
Yeah. So we're looking at, I mean, it's not too much more.
Maybe three times the time for 10 times the revenue. Right? That's a huge gain.
And that's what you're saying. You got to be able to produce it for less
Than what they're willing to pay.
Okay.
And so right now you're in a position with that money grab, it's costing you about $100. And again, it's not crazy, but if you were to hire somebody to do that work, and this is again, moving from self-employed to business owner, if you were to hire somebody to go film that reel, you probably break even or lose money. And so that tells me it's not scalable.
Got you.
They would make $20 an hour as an employee. And by the time you paid them all the stuff that they needed to do and did all your stuff, you're basically you're giving them a job and you're not making any money. The business isn't producing anything. It's right at market value.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to figure out how to make stuff that's cost you less than market value.
So there's the packages that we definitely have. So we have we do video, audio, and photo. So more heavy on the video because that is where the demand is.
Okay.
Most people understand the power of social media now, which is kind of crazy because like we're 16 years past when that really was like the time to do it.
Sure.
But it's still just as powerful. So as long as you start doing it and you do something consistently and it's of good value and the content is rich, like it's going to go. And if people understand that, that's great. But they don't understand how delayed gratification also plays into that social media. So the video, it's everything that you need, but it's not going to be, don't put all your eggs in that basket, so to speak. Like, yeah, do what you can. The video is great. But then also when you have a podcast like this, you can actually share your story. You can really get into the company and what you do, what you offer, and how it benefits people. So I would recommend the two.
So let's back up for a minute. We've been working together, like I said, since November, December, and then where we're in March. So 5-6 months. Have you put together a podcast package that you've tried to sell to somebody else yet? Written it down, put it on a flyer, put it on a website, and said, this is what it costs and this is what you'll get?
I haven't.
You should.
All right.
That would be easy. And you know what? People love podcasts.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people want to be on a podcast. They want to start a podcast. It's a pretty intimidating thing. It's a lot of work to figure it out. You've made it really easy for me, right? I kind of just show up and talk. I get my own guests, whatever. But I think people would pay for this.
Okay.
As a package. You just need to really price it out. This is a bidding thing, right? You're selling a product, but the product is, I will do this for you. You will pay me this amount of money. And if you feel like there's setup time, you make them commit to a certain length of time.
Okay.
But you say, we will do 4 podcasts a month in one shoot. And you're going to get these 4 edited podcasts, plus commit to 3 to 5 shorts out of that podcast.
Right.
This is going to give you 20 short form pieces of content and 4 long form pieces of content. You don't need to buy any audio equipment. You don't need to buy any cameras, any lights. You just provide a place to shoot. We schedule 1 time a month to do it. This is what it costs. Boom. You charge whatever you think it costs for that. And the way I would evaluate what's it going to cost is, what would it cost me to hire somebody else if I wasn't even going to be involved to come and do this work?
Got you.
That's how you make sure it's a business, not a self-employed gig. Okay, so we need somebody at this skill level to come and set up the equipment and run the camera. I mean, you could put a post in Indeed.com and hire that person. I don't know what they would cost.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't want to hire a kid.
Right.
But also, it's not a crazy high-skill job to set it up and maybe stand behind it. Right. A lot of it comes in the video editing. So figure all that out.
Yeah.
Figure out what it's going to cost. And then even if you figure it out, you have a realistic picture of, this is what this is cost in the market. Figure out what you want your margins to be. So how much are you going to mark it up? It's going to cost me $1,000 to produce this. I want to make 2,000. So I want to make $1,000. So I'm going to charge 2,000 or whatever. Right. I mean, think all that through. So you're putting out a product. This is going to systematize your selling. It's going to do a lot of things for you. One is, until bidding becomes more intuitive, the more different jobs you do, the harder it's going to be, because you have to bid every job out separately, and you don't have a consistent way to bid out jobs.
Yeah.
So if you put together a package, you work really hard on bidding it out once.
Yeah.
And then you sell that over and over and over.
Got you.
It's also way easier to sell because you get really good at talking about that thing.
Right.
Hey, what's the benefit of a podcast? Well, let's you and me work it out for a while. But then they're like, people coming to you, what are the challenges? Why should you hire me? All you have to do is sell. I'm the podcast guy. Right. And the more you narrow in and say, I'm the podcast guy.
Yeah.
People say, yeah, Marcos does great podcasts. Right. Now you're raising your prices because you're the podcast guy, and things just work when you work with Marcos.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Shorts packages, I think you could do the same thing. Hey, I don't really want to do a podcast, but I want to have reels for my Instagram, right? Whatever, right? Okay. The way I do this is, I don't want to waste your time. I know you're busy. We reshoot once a month. That's kind of my model.
Yeah.
We do once a month shooting, somewhere between 1 and 3 hours, kind of depending on how efficient you are behind the camera, right?
Right.
But basically, I'll give you 1 to 3 hours of camera time. I do all the prep work to make sure that we come prepared. I give you scripts. I've got a teleprompter if you need it. If you're off the cuff kind of person, that's fine too. We'll work on that. Yeah. But basically, we're going to do 1 to 3 hours of filming. I come with the content ideas, the scripts, and then I'll chop that up into 20 to 30 shorts. And this is the price. And it's a package. It's really clear, really easy to understand. And you said you work with a marketing person. So again, maybe stay in your lane, at least for now, as you learn that more. And you say, hey, here's some marketing firms I recommend. The cool thing is I know all these guys and I actually work closely with them. So you need to hire a marketing company as well that's going to help you deliver this content into the world.
Yeah.
And then they're going to measure your KPIs and make sure we're getting where you want to go ultimately, because we're not just shooting content for content's sake.
Right.
But I'm no stranger to that world. Marcos, I'm role playing here.
Yep.
I could have my own marketing firm, and one day I might. But for now, I work with them. But the good thing is I know how to communicate with them. I know how to redirect the film content so that there's a really tight partnership.
Yeah.
So, if you want more sales, you want more business, you want hire more social media following, we'll figure that out. And then we're going to cater the videos to the thing you need. Right?
It's good.
And then again, you're figuring out how much does it cost to produce that, right? If you hire people and start at that price, because where you could get stuck is you undercharge.
Mm-hmm.
You make it work because you're you and you work super hard, but you're doing the work of 2 or 3 people.
Right.
You're working late into the night. You're working 50, 55-hour weeks to keep all these monthly contracts up. And you're like, man, I got to hire somebody. Can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
But you're underpriced. So as soon as you hire that person, they absorb all your profit.
Right.
That is the danger and where people fail from going from freelance to business. So you got to price yourself right from the beginning. Now I'll just say it on the podcast. I don't care. You've given me an amazing deal.
Come on, somebody.
I appreciate it.
Hey, but there's a reason.
Shout out to Marcos. I appreciate the heck out of it. And I know a price increase is coming soon. That's why I'm scared to have this podcast.
Don't get too comfortable.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable.
No,
but
we good.
The reality is, and I think you know this because you've been ridiculously kind to me, and I appreciate the heck out of that. But I don't think you would not be able to scale your business at the price you charge me. I appreciate the heck out of it. I just want to say that. I appreciate you believing in me and making this work and us growing together.
Absolutely.
And that's cool, and you can do that. I think it was actually the right play for you. But just know that you can only do that for 1 or maybe 2 clients.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've gotta use that as credibility to say, hey, I've done a podcast and it looks great. Here's 15 episodes that you can review. I can do the same thing for you.
Yeah.
Right. So you take that credibility immediately and then figure out what is the market rate. And again, the market rate is take yourself out of it. Take yourself out of it completely. What would it cost to hire somebody off Indeed.com to do all these components?
Okay.
I've got to have a filmer, edit, that's $30 an hour. I've got to have an editor, that's, $35 an hour. I've got to have a sound technician, that's $80 an hour. They're really, prima donnas, I guess, or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. These are all the roles I have. I've got to have a customer service person, client, somebody that interacts with the client. And again, I understand you're going to be all these people at the beginning. Yeah. But what if you had 50 podcasts?
Oof.
Okay. Now you would need, Marco, you're never going to be able to do 50 podcasts by yourself.
Right.
You're going to need to have 4 camera crews.
Right.
You're going to have 7 editors. You're going to have, so like you need to know what those prices are so that if I don't have just 1 podcast or 3, I have 50.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what it costs to produce a podcast. I can do it for $2,700 a month. So when I charge $4,000 a month, I'm making $1,300.
That's great.
$1,300 times 50. Now I'm making, 50 grand, over 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
Right. And if I'm assuming $2,700, build in a lot of your fixed costs into that, at least an overhead percentage.
Yeah.
That 50 grand a month could be profit.
Right.
Now we're talking about some real money.
Right. Because none of this stuff is on loan. I bought it all.
Yeah.
So technically it's all profit.
No, that's not how profit works. You still got to pay for this.
Well, yeah. This guy's definitely paid off. No,
I understand that it's paid off, but you still paid for it at some point.
Right.
So it's still an expense to the business.
Yes.
And if we're talking about scalability, again, if you're going to do 50 podcasts, you're going to need to, I'm just making up numbers, but you're going to need 4 sets of cameras.
Right.
And if each camera set there's 3 sets of cameras per, that's 12 cameras. That's a pretty penny, right?
Yeah,
so you're going to build that into the cost.
Right. Okay.
And then you're also, like I said, going to assume, I don't really know the life cycles of cameras. How often, like that camera right there, let's say you do this business and you're cranking. When do you think you'll have to replace that? And why will you have to replace it?
These cameras are built really well these days.
Really?
So
maybe never?
I would say this could easily last me 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
So I have another camera that I got as an entry level, and it's still going strong. I use it for my photography, and I got it in 2014.
So easily 10 years.
Yeah.
And to be totally honest, you're probably more gentle on it than other people might be
Yeah,
because
for
it's
sure.
yours. Because you're a new business owner, you value it a little bit more. But you know, when you get employees and money's flowing and people are a little rougher with stuff, you know, I mean, try and build that into a culture that they're not, because these things are not cheap, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, you know, when you've got employees and you're doing more run and gun, let's put 10 years on it, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to be replacing cameras every 10 years. And again, that gives you, like, we're breaking this down to figure out what does this really cost to operate,
Right.
right? And if you really want to scale this thing, I'd build in a little like office space to the pricing model.
Okay.
Even though you don't have an office right now, you don't want to, you've told me before, right? This was the beginning of the conversation. I don't want to just be a freelancer. I want to have a business.
Yes.
You're going to need a place for that business to operate.
Yeah.
Unless you take a creative model or something where it's like all my employees are remote, they work from home. You know, I have editors in Nebraska and New York and what. Maybe you do that model.
Yeah.
That might be a model you work with. There's also even the international workers right now that can work in your space. So there's different business models. Maybe you don't need an office, but the point is figure out. You almost need to figure out like, okay, how would this business look if I was doing 50 podcasts? And then work backwards.
That's good.
And work backwards to one podcast and then 3 podcasts. And now, but if you start with 50
Yeah.
and you build the model around that, then you know as you go from 1 to 50, it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the thing is, maybe your vision isn't 50 podcasts. Okay. But what I would say is really going to help you is you need to narrow your services down to, I'm not just a video. I don't just do videos. I sell packages.
Yes.
So I would come up, if I was you, we've been working together a long time. I would come up with 5 packages.
Yeah.
So
I have some.
podcast package. And then I would come up with tiers on each of those packages.
Okay.
And I will help you build this out in Excel if you want. So it's
Yes.
very clean. So, okay, you've got Marcos's website. It's super clean. You want to hire me for podcasts. That's one of the things I do. Okay. I do podcasts. There's 3 tiers of podcasts. There's the twice a month tier. There's the 4 times a month tier, and there's the 8 times a month tier or whatever, right? You make 3 tiers, right?
Yeah.
Then you can do some fun pricing psychology games with that too. You know, the top tier is overly expensive.
Yeah.
Occasionally people buy it because some people just want the premium no matter what. But also having that premium on there makes the middle tier feel really good. So like top tier is $10,000 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's totally white glove. Or bottom tier is just basic, 1 podcast a month, pretty cheap. But then the middle tier, 4 podcasts a month, and you price it in such a way where it's significantly less than the top tier.
Yeah.
And only a little bit more than the bottom tier.
Okay.
So I'm just making up numbers
Okay,
right now.
okay.
I don't want to not lock you in anything on your website because you have to do the cost analysis. But
Right.
top tier is $10,000 a month. Bottom tiers $2,500 a month. Middle tiers $3,000 a month. What tier are they going to almost always choose?
The middle.
They're almost always going to choose the middle, which is where your sweet spot in pricing is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you've got your podcast service, you've got your shorts service. Maybe you have a wedding package. Have you really clearly defined your wedding package?
I have.
Okay, so that's one you got. Maybe you've got a TV ads package. I'm just kind of making stuff up.
Commercials. I actually had a guy say that he wanted to partner in with me, create a brand, and just do big fish commercial type stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like considering it, but you know what my limitation is?
Equipment,
My time.
time. Okay.
I'm like, I would love to do that. I don't know if I have the time to commit to that,
Right.
especially building this. And so then we're also going to have to put time, money, and energy inside of whatever we venture into. And then the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. So
Sometimes that's the case.
So I don't want to get into that. So, I mean, that would definitely be something I'd have to talk to you about and see if that's even something that I should even consider, because I'm doing this, you know, and this is guaranteed and we're already building it, you know?
Sure.
So why stop building to start building something completely new?
Sure. I would be thinking, really trying to identify like one of the next steps in your business is who is the first person you're going to hire and what are they going to do?
I really think I'm gonna hire my son,
Okay.
and he's already got a contract with the church,
Okay.
and he's already done his first podcast. He's done 2 podcast edits, and he is phenomenal. He's really good at it,
Okay.
and he likes it. So, I'm really thinking that he's gonna be like my guy because I'm already training him from every area of the business, from data management to professionalism to social media mindset, marketing mindsets, like everything. He's getting it and implementing it. It's not just like he's, oh, here we go again, another lecture from dad.
Right.
No, he's soaking it up and then he's applying it.
Good. That could be a great first hire. And it sounds like he's a real well-rounded person, which is what you're going to need early on.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, your business will eventually, and probably sooner rather than later, thrive on speciality. People specializing in certain roles inside the business. You don't want somebody that's good at everything or like okay at everything.
Yeah.
You want somebody that's really good at one thing.
Was tax or CP, what do they call it? Bookkeepers? Or
Mm-hmm.
Is that technically a hire for the business?
Yeah, for sure. And you can hire somebody as an employee that does bookkeeping, or you can hire a bookkeeping firm that's kind of a contractor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just pay them a fixed amount of money per month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what I would do if I was you.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing because I've heard another thing that you said is you need somebody in your business that loves numbers.
Right.
I don't. Numbers overwhelm me. They jump me at night.
Fair enough.
So that's a whole nother side of the business that I'm trying to dial in under the systems. So we have the products and the offers that I'm really trying to hone in and find out who is the ideal person that is going to buy this. And then there's, all right, now that we have this together, now we need the workflow. We need the proposal, the contract, the spreadsheet, the communications. Like we need it all in one central place so that if I have a team, they can jump in, they can see it clear as day.
Yep.
This is where we're running.
There's a lot of components because you become like a solo traveler to now you're operating, a cruise director, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing hiking around the mountains by yourself, and it's another thing directing all the chaos on a cruise ship, right? I guess there's some steps in between there, but it becomes a lot more complicated the more you have to manage systems and people and their communication and everything. So that's why you just always want to build systems early on, things that you can repeat.
Yeah.
So you do it the same way every time, and you can't do that all the time. But that's good. And I would say in general, that's a challenge for creatives because it kind of breaks the mold of what creativity is.
Yeah.
Creatives don't want to do things the same way. Like, it's against your nature to do it the same way twice. Doing it the same way twice is boring. It's not beautiful.
Yes.
Analytics think it's beautiful to do it the same way every time, right? Mm-hmm. But creatives want to take a different path, right? You'll learn a lot. People like if you drive with somebody, like what roads they take to get to certain areas is always interesting to me. Like, do you take the direct route? Do you like the highway? Do you take the back roads? Like, I always feel like that you learn a lot about somebody when you drive with them based on how they take the trip.
Interesting.
And it's kind of the same way in business. But as a creative, your tendency is going to want to not create systems.
Yeah.
But you got to fight that.
Yeah, because I've noticed that it creates so much confusion for the clients. They're feeling like, okay, I paid him the money. Now he's just going to run off because I haven't heard from him in 2 weeks. Well, no, I didn't run off. I've just been working on the scripts. I've been dialing in this and doing that. I've been, we shot that over there. So now I've been editing that. But then I was needing the graphics. So I'm trying to put this whole thing beautifully packaged together and say, here you go. But the whole way through, I could have just had a system that says, this is the process. Mm-hmm. We show up, we shoot, We take it back, we do the data management, and then we enter it into the editor, and then from the editor we export it, and then after we export it, we upload it to Vimeo, and then from Vimeo we send it to you for revisions. And each one of these could be a line item in the spreadsheet that has a status of in progress, complete, or not started.
Right.
Very simple.
Yep.
And keeps everybody in the loop. And I like it because it's like when you have so many projects, you forget the step that you were at the last time that you were working it. So I do love the organization of a spreadsheet. And I don't know that I can really grasp a spreadsheet on my own, like real fast.
You'll get there.
But Jim and I can.
Sure.
Tell it what it needs to have, and then it'll build it out super fast.
Sure.
So that's what I've done, and starting that process with song creation. Somebody said they wrote this song, they want customized music, they want their lyrics, their vision, but our spin, our professionalism. So the two come together, they write the check, we create the song, and then they enter the process. So I'm actually utilizing the spreadsheet. So, you talk to me and stuff, and it may not seem like I'm listening.
Oh, I know you're listening.
But I'm definitely soaking it up. And then working with that editor really put some light on how this could look.
Sure.
And I was like, man. And then working with the marketer, with shameless plug, his name is Jared at Digital Underground, right?
Underground Creative, I think.
Underground Creative. Absolutely monster with it. He's amazing. So he really put these systems, and I'm like, man, I like it a lot. I feel like I'm on track, and I feel more productive knowing where I'm going.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Feels good. Feels good to have a system and a path and a plan.
Yeah.
Right. The last podcast we were talking about not being so reactive.
Right.
And being more proactive, having more plans in place. Super essential if you want to scale your business. If you want to grow, you have to stop reacting to problems and start proactively solving them before they happen.
Right.
So.
And that's one way to solve a problem. The poor communication is bound to happen, but with the spreadsheet, everybody knows what's happening.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. And isn't that one of the key skill sets in sales? Answer objections before they come up?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. With sales is you want to kind of lead somebody into understanding their benefit. And so you're creating a narrative that, answers their objections before they even surface.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a great part of sales.
Yeah. So when should I be looking at making the hire happen? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I get turnaround time really down packed, where if somebody books me for a wedding, they have a 90-day to 6-month return for everything complete. If I can get that done in 30 days, would that boost my booking?
So when you're saying when somebody hires you for a wedding, you don't get stuff back to them for 90 days?
90 days.
That feels like a long time.
No, it does for a wedding, but you got to think you're going through 12 hours of footage, and on average on any edit, you go through the footage 3 times. So in editing, I mean, that's a full work week just going through editing, if that's all you were doing.
If that's all you're doing.
So it does take quite a bit of time, and that's why a lot of people also don't like weddings, but I love capturing the love story. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the most precious time of their life. If we can capture it on video and give them that emotional memory, 10 years from now, you sit down on the couch, now you have kids, they weren't there.
Right.
you can relive that moment. And when you laughed and what you felt, they're feeling as they're watching it. You
That's
really
pretty cool.
can't put a price on that.
Sure.
You know? So I like to be able to create that type of thing. It takes time though.
Right.
So if I could, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, so if I could close that gap to 30 days and the next editor, the next wedding videographer, he's not doing nearly the quality and he's taking 9 months to a year to get it back, then that could be my leverage in sales.
Definitely could be part of your package, right? And it's defining the process so people know exactly what they get. People don't like ambiguity. Well, when will I get my video? You'll get it when you get it.
Yeah.
People don't like that answer, right?
Yeah.
It's better to say the long period of time than no time period. But of course, the shorter time period, we want Amazon 2-day delivery. We want Amazon 1-day delivery.
Right.
You know, so yeah, people pay to have things faster. So,
Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, I need to get this faster piece of equipment to be able to handle the job that we could slice through it like butter. And if I go on a trip and there's downtime, like literally we went on a trip and I thought it was going to be this like grandiose, special family moment. And here I am in the living room watching a movie for 4 hours. And I'm like, ooh, I could have got so much done. And if I had that laptop there, I would just be able to chop through some things like that. So this is like in my mind, I'm like, it's worth it to get this piece of equipment to collapse that window and get more
absolutely
capacity in the business and more sales.
Assets create value. Assets create income, right? So the cameras right now, we wouldn't be able to be doing this without the cameras.
Right.
So the cameras are making money for you, right? The cameras are little employees. Computers are little employees. You don't want employees that don't work though, right? That's a waste of money. So think of all your equipment like little employees. If I hire this piece of equipment, if I buy this piece of equipment, what work is it going to do for me? If it doesn't work for me, it's not making me money. It's just a drain on the system.
Love that. That's excellent. Yeah, no, that's good. At what point do you make the purchase?
So like for a new piece of equipment, you know, I think sometimes it just has to be when you need it. Like at some point with some equipment, you just can't do certain jobs unless you have certain equipment.
Right.
And at that point, you need to decide, is this a type of job that I can do more than once? Because you can't buy, you know, they have something like a red dot camera or something that's like,
oh yeah, the red Komodo is like 10,000 for the body.
It's like, it's an amazing piece of equipment. And so you might get an opportunity 2 months from now where somebody says, hey, I need this shot, but I need you to shoot it with a red dot. And you say, okay, I'll go buy one. If that's the only opportunity you're going to really get to use that piece of equipment, it's probably not worth it, right? You just need to say no to the job.
Or rent it.
But if you are going to have multiple opportunities to do that type of work, that piece of equipment will come in handy, or if it opens up a new market, or if it increases efficiency in some other way, you know, it's really just becomes a math problem at that point.
I think that's what I'm asking is like, okay, I've heard things like never buy anything unless you have 3 times cash for what the sticker price is.
I don't operate by rules like that. That's overly simplistic.
Okay.
You know, you might, if there's a good reason, I'll tell you, buy a piece of equipment with a credit card and go into debt. You have no cash, but you need this piece of equipment to make, you know, a $10,000 sale. Do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't follow that kind of silly rules that sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Maybe they give good base guidelines, but it's just completely dependent. You know, was it going to cost me and was it going to benefit me? Do the benefits outweigh the costs?
It's good.
Right?
It's good.
I think we've talked about it a lot. You know, you and I have talked about this concept a lot because it's one of my favorite concepts though, is how nice of a piece of equipment do you actually need? And don't spend money on stuff you don't really need.
Yeah.
right? You're a contractor and you need a new bulldozer. Do you need the brand new bulldozer with blue lights in the cab and the fanciest air conditioning and blah, blah? No, probably not.
Yeah.
Do you want the 60-year-old bulldozer though that's going to break down every single job? You probably don't want that one either.
Right.
Like there's a sweet spot somewhere in there.
Right.
What's the sweet spot?
Yeah.
It's very rarely the newest, shiniest thing.
Yeah.
It's very rarely, in my opinion, the oldest, crappiest thing either, right? I like buying nice things. You know that about me.
Yeah.
I like having good equipment,
Yeah.
but I don't usually get the shiniest because it's not usually efficient, right?
Got you.
There's somewhere in there, right? So you want a new MacBook computer. Do you need this year's model that just came out, or will 1 year back do? That's still a brand new computer. I hate buying used computers. I've done it in the past, and it's really never worked out.
And that is really an interesting point, because that is the computer that I want to get is said to be, by many professionals, literally 50 times faster than the computer I'm operating on.
So it's a new Mac, I assume.
Yeah.
And they just came out with the M5, right?
Yeah. And that's what it's M5 Max, not just the M5.
Yeah,
M5
the M5
Max.
I would, if I was you, just based on everything I know about the conversations we've had, I'd buy an M4.
I've asked this question. Went to the Apple store.
Okay.
And they don't even have them no more.
Really?
They are not selling any M4 anything. And honestly, it's like $600 more for the latest model. So I'm like, I don't like, if it was like $2,000 cheaper to just get the M4.
So that's
a sale.
So that's what you're saying. So I like your analysis though, because this is what you're thinking. Okay, it's $2,600 for an M4 that's out of stock, but let's assume it's not for a minute. $2,600 or $600 more dollars, so $3,200 maybe. Is it worth it? Okay, $600 is not a ton of money. That's basically the cost of one hard drive, also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is there a performance increase? Probably. Will it be out of, will this last 7 years instead of 6 years? Probably. You'll get an extra year out of it. It is a little bit of a cash flow problem issue at that point. I don't know about the 3 times. I need 3 times the money to be able to buy it. But it's a little bit, if you're in the place in your business where you're still doing money grabs, you might be able to say, hey, I'm going to go, I know it's not efficient, but I'm going to go do 3 money grabs and just make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a scalable business model.
It's not.
But you know what? At these early stages, sometimes you're making those hustler decisions where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to go do this other thing that I wouldn't normally do. I'm going to make the extra $600 because I want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The problem with your business and your industry, though, is if that $600 adds up because you buy a lot of equipment. You have to in this business.
Yeah.
So, okay, $600 more for this Mac, but also I need this new microphone. I could get this new microphone. This one's $400, but this one's only $600. It's only $200.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend that extra $200. Now I'm going to get this new camera. Well, there's the $2,800 one, and then there's the $3,800 one. It's only $1,000. Pretty soon that extra $1,000, extra $600, extra $200, extra. If you're always buying equipment that has features that you don't need, those little $200 here, $800 there, $600 here, it adds up.
Right.
Because you're an equipment heavy business.
Right.
So you more than most need to be sensitive to what feature am I really buying and is it actually going to give me a return? Because otherwise you'll burn through a lot of money on all of your equipment. And so it's just something to think, cost benefit.
And I've seen that.
It multiplies itself more.
For sure. No, I like the employees. Your equipment is a little employee. So a light's like $800, or one of these lights is like $500. But the other light, branded, trusted, is $800. Is the $300 worth it, or will I get by with this? And the answer is, these are lovely. They're lovely. A little hot, but they're lovely.
Yeah.
But I look at that and I'm like, but I don't need it. It's a want. It's a good thing to have. It's one of those things right now. Like, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Yes and no. I mean, yes and no. Because you can always go buy a computer when you really need it.
Yeah.
And again, like with these lights, 500 versus 800, are these lights going to last 10 years? Would the 800 light last 10 years? That's a big question to ask. So yeah, this $500 light, it works, but it's probably going to fail in 3 years. Where the $800 light will last 10. 100% spend the extra $300. I don't know if that's true of these lights or not.
Well, the other light is definitely waterproof.
It's a for instance, right? Okay, waterproof, right? And so again, so that's a perfect example. Waterproof feature. These lights are mounted to this ceiling.
Yeah.
They don't need to be waterproof.
Exactly.
So don't spend $300 for a feature that you literally don't need.
Right.
But again, once you've got 50 podcasts a month, that you're 50 clients, and you've got a crew, and they're going to be rougher on the lights.
Oh my gosh.
And they're going to be taking them different places. Maybe it is worth spending that extra 300, right? So again, I'm not telling you what's good or bad. I'm trying to give you the framework on how you make these decisions, which is always cost benefit.
Yeah.
And really in economics, we call it a marginal cost benefit analysis, which means what is the marginal change in cost versus the marginal change in benefit. So again, it's always better to buy the more expensive thing. It's always better. But how much better? Because sometimes it's a lot more expensive and it's only a little bit better.
Right.
Don't do it if that's the case.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a little bit more expensive and it's a lot better. And that's why I keep going back to you kind of have to be as the educated one finding that sweet spot. I just know with MacBook computers, I do agree. Like I love a fresh new Mac, and they're solid.
Yeah.
But the difference between the M4 and the M5, the M3 and the M4, they usually seem to be fairly small jumps.
Yeah.
Relative to the price from what I've seen. M1 to M2, from my recollection, was a pretty big jump. But from M2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 has been smaller jumps.
Yeah. So I that's what I need to do. I need to, because the video that I had been looking at is what do I have right now, and what is available.
What is your current Mac?
It's an M1.
M1. So I mean, quite frankly, just knowing what you do, I would buy a new one. I also have seen yours is small.
Yeah.
I would buy the bigger screen. I think
that's exactly the 16 inch.
15 inch. I don't think you want a small screen. So for those two reasons alone, I mean, the answer to me, for you, is 100% buy a new computer.
Yeah.
The question is, do you buy an M3 off Facebook Marketplace, which you could probably get for maybe under $1,000?
That'd be nice.
Or M5 for $3,200 or $2,800, right?
45.
So you need one with a big storage, right?
And then I'm gonna get a military discount because I'm gonna loop somebody in on the deal.
And don't say that on the podcast.
Cut.
Yeah. So that's a lot of money to spend on a laptop. I'd figure that out.
Yeah.
Because again, and that's another thing is, what's more important, processing speed and RAM or storage, or both?
Well, I've got the storage part. I got 50 terabytes.
Well, then, I mean, part of it is why you're spending the extra money on the bigger hard drive built into the Mac.
I decided not to go so much on the internal hard drive, but then I was thinking also, like, if I go, somebody's like, man, I need you to come film the podcast. You got to bring your own equipment. And I got 4 guests lined up one day. Well, then I'm going to need a lot of space to store all of that. I got big cards. That's great. But everybody knows in this industry, if you don't have that backed up in 3 places, you don't have it at all. So I need to have it at least in 2 for the cards and on a hard drive. Maybe, and then the blessing would be to have it on an external as well.
Right.
So to have that internal capacity of the computer of like maybe 4 internal terabytes, that'd be lovely. But also it's like, am I doing that right now? And how long do I need this computer to be able to handle that? Like,
yeah. So part of it, the other thing I would tell you, Marcos, this is the way I've always done business, is I kind of figure out where I want to go, and then I just go freaking make it happen.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So this isn't the way for everybody. So be careful with this, because this could also get you in trouble. But if you say, hey, I want a $4,800 computer,
Yeah.
and I want this new camera, and I
Yeah.
want to have this lighting set up, and I need these mics, and all that is $27,000.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to make that a smart decision? Okay, I need 4 podcast clients. I need to do 3 weddings every summer, and I need to do 1 commercial ad. And if I do all those things, then this will pencil.
Yeah.
Meaning the math works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to need to hire 1 person to manage all this, and then I can afford this equipment. Now it's a question of how confident are you in yourself to go make it freaking happen.
More than confident.
So, be careful. As I said, this
I don't want to be arrogant, but I'm pretty confident.
The worst advice I'm getting, but like I've made some business risks in my life on credit cards.
Yeah.
Because I don't really go approach things with we'll see how it works out. Like, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
If I need 3 clients, I'm going to get 3 clients.
Yeah. It's good.
And if I do it in one, if I'm not successful, I'm only got 1 client, then I'm going to work harder. I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to make more calls. I'm going to do what it takes to get 3 clients.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of a hardcore personality in business to just, you don't fear and back down. You got to be realistic about yourself and about your goals, and you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm saying I don't just go willy nilly, spend 27 grand on equipment and then hope it works out and work hard. I don't just spend $27,000 on a credit card and just hope it works out.
Right.
I will say, okay, if I do this, this is what would make this work. This is the plan. And then I go execute the plan, and I do what it takes to make that plan happen. Does that make sense?
That's good.
So if you want that Mac, it's a big lift. That's $4,800. It's a lot of money.
It's a lift.
And the external hard drives and stuff you've talked about. I mean, I know the stuff you want. It's not cheap.
Nothing is.
Nothing is cheap. But you can say, what is the business that would support this equipment? And how could I get there?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you say, like, I'm not going to sleep until I figure this out. I need 3 podcast clients paying this rate.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go get them.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I don't know the podcast, as I'm thinking about it more the product. I think the thing that you're going to sell better than even podcasts is those shorts.
Yeah.
Right? As shorts packages. We'll film once a month for 3 hours, and you'll get 20 shorts out of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a package. I think people will buy that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All kinds of businesses will buy that.
That's what I continuously see is the social media. But then it's like, what is the ideal client? And then, like, should we even be having this conversation of who the ideal client is when you need to have some money first?
Absolutely.
Like, get the money and then figure that out? Or the other way around? You got to
figure out the ideal client. Because to get the money, you got to make sales.
Yeah.
And to make sales, you need to know who you're selling to.
Yeah.
They really say you should figure out who you're selling to and then create the product for that person. And if you do it the other way around, it can be riskier, right? So this is where I would say, this is why I kind of like actually midstream of this podcast switch from maybe podcasts, because I don't know if there's even 50 businesses in the Tri-Cities that want podcasts. I bet there's 10. I mean, there might be 50 total.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's so like you might be limited on that. But I bet there's 1,000 or 5,000 businesses that want YouTube and social media shorts.
Right.
So I'm saying I went to the market first and figured out what people wanted. Then I created a product that fits. Then I looked at my specialties and figured out, okay, this is the kind of person that would fit my product perfectly.
Yeah.
And then I put all that together rather than saying, hey, I like filming podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm going to create this podcast product. I don't know if anybody's going to buy it, right? In business school, I used to always say, hey, just because you like making rhubarb pie doesn't mean you should make rhubarb pie. Nobody likes rhubarb pie. Everybody likes apple pie.
Yeah.
I don't care that you like making rhubarb pie. You need to sell apple pie because that's what the market wants.
Right.
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 So you need to figure out what the market wants that you can produce and sell, and then bring that to the market.
How would you say to do the market research?
You know, a lot of this can be more informal with conversations with people, some kind of exploratory conversations. But yeah, that's market research can be tough. I mean, there's obviously paid ways to do it. There's firms that do that, right? Firms that do market research. But a lot of times you can just get a vibe for your product by having conversations with people. You got to be careful with that too, though, because people are always encouraging. You go sit down with 10 people and be like, hey, what do you think about the idea of a film company doing shorts, and it costs $3,500 a month, but you get 20 shorts every month. Like, oh, that's a great idea. And you get 10 of your friends or business acquaintances to tell you it's a great idea. So then you start the business, and it's a great idea, but it's not a great idea that any of them are willing to pay for.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So you got to be careful getting, anecdotal feedback. You got to find people that you really trust. Another way to do market research is see what people are already selling. Right. So that's, again, why podcast is possibly not a good idea. If it was a good idea, why isn't anybody doing it?
Well, there are, and this is interesting that you say that, because podcasting is still very much making a killing. A lot of people are making six figures doing podcasts.
Wow.
So I would say that it definitely is a great means, but you have to present it to people so they understand the value that the podcast holds for their investment. And so they don't always get to see that. But I think that just naturally, I saw the need for social media to explode in the heat of COVID. And hot take, I think that there's another round of that coming.
Could be.
And so if I get my system and process really dialed, catered to, if you can't go into the physical structure, can I still get you business?
Right.
If I can really dial that in, then I think it's a scalable. Anybody that I present it to will go for it.
Sure.
I just have to figure out that price that they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. And that's part of sales too. I mean, like there's so many models too, right? So like the safest way to enter a market, like this, go back to your question, like how do you do that market research? The safest markets to enter are where there's already markets created. I know that I could open a fast food restaurant and make money here because there's already fast food restaurants. So I'm going into a market and I just need to take market share that already exists. I know that I can make money doing wedding videos because there's already wedding photographers, wedding videographers out there.
Yeah.
There's dozens of them. So I know there's a market for it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any.
Yeah.
Podcasting, if you literally said, I'm the podcast guy, that's a new space. I don't personally know of anybody in the Tri-Cities that says I'm the podcast guy. Now that could mean one of two things. It's an untapped market that would do great and explode and you'd be the first of the space. That could be really great. Or it means there's not a demand for it, because if there was a demand for it, somebody would already be doing it. So that can make me that can be nervous. You got to have maybe some core products that there's demand for.
And you said 5 core products earlier.
I would, yeah. 5 feels like a good number to me,
Okay.
and pick some that you're good at and you can make money on, and maybe some more experimental products. But 5 core products, it just makes selling easier. It makes pricing easier. It makes you're going to get more systems. If you have to have systems for 50 different products, that's hard to create. But if you really only do 5 things,
Yeah.
you can do those 5 things really well.
Yeah.
Every time I do a wedding, I do it this way.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do a lot of weddings versus I do a couple weddings a year. Every time I do a podcast, I do it this way. Every time I onboard a new client, I do it this way. Right? So, the less things you do, the better you get at doing those things.
Yeah. That's really good. I think that this has been really helpful and insightful. There's so many areas of business, because I feel like I am that guy that quit his job and went into business, even though that's not how it happened. It's just like I didn't have any business background. I just knew that what I had, a lot of people needed it.
Right.
That's all I knew. And so how to get to those people, how to talk to those people, still honing that in. I have the craft. I have the equipment. That's not the question. It's how do I network and sell? And then have the confidence to deliver. So that's the other piece. It's like the ambiguous piece of this has to go away if you're going to charge over $1,000 for it.
Yeah, absolutely. People, when the more they pay, the more they expect you to have your stuff together.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, there's a whole market out there for that. Like they call it the white glove treatment, right? And people charge exorbitant prices. Sometimes, but when you charge those exorbitant prices, you're saying, hey, I've got it together.
Yeah.
And you're going to get, this is going to be efficient. It's going to be easy. I'm going to make your life easy. It's going to be clean. It's going to be delivered on time, without mistakes. But you're going to pay for it.
Right.
Right. And you offer that and you give them the white glove treatment and people pay for that. People pay a lot of money for good service.
Yeah.
Well, Marcos, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I would actually like to do this again with you in a couple of months.
Sure.
And I think that'd be great. Get some updates on your business and how things are going.
Yeah.
I'm excited for your business and I appreciate everything you've done for me, helping me get this little podcast and business off the ground. I think it's an exciting partnership that I'm excited to see continue to develop.
Come on, somebody. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the value that you bring to the community. The things that you're speaking on is not commonly talked about, but you are able to communicate it in a way that's understandable. And I think that's a teacher's gift. You hold that and you really can communicate it to a lot of people. I see so many people in your class that are just like, I get it. I get it. Now, if only I could get those numbers the way that you get them, then I think we'll get there.
Thank you so much, Marcos. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
All right.
Thanks for checking out this podcast. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps us out as content creators. I'm Adam Diaz, and I have nearly 20 years experience building, selling, and advising small businesses. Welcome to this channel. I'm going to be doing videos and content on everything business strategy, business finance, and business leadership. This isn't pie in the sky theory. This is real life. How do I make my business run successfully? A lot of us go into business because we're passionate about something. I'm passionate about making businesses work. You've come to the right place, and you're going to get a lot of content on this channel about how to grow your business and make it more successful.